Alright, so we have here an old Toro Wheel Horse 212-5, if you can see that there. I've got it fairly disassembled here. I've got the fuel tank loosened up. I'm just about to replace the fuel filter in it. The tires are dry rotted, but we have inner tubes to put in them, so that should be okay for now. Might eventually get new tires. Right up here we've got the head. It spins nice and free. And of course we've got our throttle cable there. Down inside here I have, if we can get this to show better, we have the ignition switch there, which we will be replacing because that one's just a bit old and the key keeps falling out. Down here I found the reason for the engine deciding not to start, or not to turn over. That right there in the center of the screen is the neutral sensor. So if the tractor's not in neutral, it won't let the engine start, won't let you do a whole bunch of different stuff. So that was unplugged, and thus the starter would not engage and the tractor would not turn over, or the engine would not turn over. Over here on the side, let's get you right over here, that's the fuse block. I still need to figure out where that 15-amp fuse goes. That's for the headlights. And right now the headlights are not working because I pulled that out and I forget where I got it out of. But the 25-amp fuse does go up top there for the starter. Or actually, no, that's for the relays. The starter is this 30-amp fuse here. So any issues with the starter, that blows. And that's a problem. Alright, so we just got the ignition switch. If it'll focus there, we got the ignition switch swapped out there. And also, right here, we have the new fuel filter installed. Going into the carburetor, out of the fuel tank. Naturally, the fuel tank's not mounted yet. Right back in there, if it'll focus, we can see that we have the new ignition switch installed. Wires are hooked up. I did a small amount of cleaning in here, not very much, but it's totally filthy and I don't have any wet rags right now. So we're going to go ahead, just confirm that the engine still turns over when we initiate. So we'll go ahead, we'll get the key put in here. There we go. These keys are kind of cheap, but they get the job done. Alright, moment of truth. Let's get up here. Ooh, and we had a fuse pop. Alright, I'm going to have to go through some wiring, figure out what fuse blew, and we will be back. Alright, so I went ahead and figured out why we blew our fuse there. I did find a new fuse. So what ended up happening is this guy right here has a different pinout than the old switch. I should have checked that before swapping parts. But yeah, so this has a different pinout. On the bottom of the other one, it does not tell you what the pinout is, but clearly it's different because this blew it. And looking at it, you can actually see in the construction of the switch that while this is the grounded pin on this particular switch, on the old switch it is this pin which is grounded and this pin does something else. So unfortunately, I will not be able to use the new key switch, but the new key does fit nicely in the old key switch. So we've got the new fuse in there. We're going to go ahead and see if we can get it to crank here. And hopefully we don't blow another fuse because this is my last 25-amp fuse. We have no power. Why have I lost power? Did I do something wrong? I'm going to put this in the wrong spot. Let's see, so put that down in there, and then see if we get anything to happen. Yep, okay, now we've got actuation. There we go. Okay, so we now have a working switch. I won't have headlights because that switch is missing, or that fuse is missing, I mean, but we should now be okay to go ahead and try to start this tractor. So I'll go ahead and remount the fuel tank, get some fuel in it, and we'll see what happens. Alright, I've got gas in it now. Just a little bit for testing. We can see that the fuel filter is working correctly. We did have a tiny fuel leak here. I had the fuel line pressed too far forwards and it was leaking out of the edge. So I got that cleaned up real quick, pulled back. I do have a fire extinguisher with me, just in case. So we are ready. Keys are in it. Ooh, keys are to the on position. Oops. Alright, we'll get that turned off. I'll get my toolkit set off to the side here. We will go ahead, hold the clutch in. You don't need the clutch to crank it, but I'm going to use it anyways, just in case. That's also the brake pedal. We're going to put the throttle up into choke. We're going to go ahead. We are on. And let's see if she starts. Alright, so we did start up, and the reason that the exhaust is smoking so much is I put some oily gas in it. That is for the two-stroke engines and so on. I did that because this engine has not run in a very long time. I wanted to give it a chance to help lubricate the cylinders and so on. Just take a quick look inside. There's some dirt and so on burning off. Looks like there's a bunch of stuff on the exhaust there which needs to burn off. We'll need to get in there and clean everything. But it ran pretty good. So I'd say this is a successful test of this old tractor that has sat for nearly a decade without running. I'll need to go ahead, figure out the tires. We believe the PTO clutch is bad, so we might have to do a repair on the PTO clutch. And we'll have to check all the belts because I'm sure some of these belts are pretty bad. But that is a very good sign. So we'll leave it there for now.